Let's talk about something we all have in common, aging. Drawing on some fantastic insights from the Mayo Clinic, we're going to break down what's really happening inside our bodies as the years go by. But more importantly, we're going to uncover the practical steps we can all take to live a super vibrant, healthy life, no matter our age.
So when I say the word aging, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For a lot of us, it's, the stuff we see in the mirror. But the real story of aging is happening way deeper, from our heart to our brain. And here's the best part. The story is actually way more empowering and optimistic than you might think.
And that, right there, is the key takeaway. This isn't about some impossible fight against time. It's about really understanding your body and realizing that you have so much power to make choices that will literally boost your health and your energy for the long haul.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll pop the hood and look at the body's engine room, all the systems that keep us going. Then we'll head up to the control center, our brain and our senses. After that, we'll see how tiny daily habits can have a massive impact. And finally, we'll talk about what it really means to embrace a vital, fulfilling life. Ready? Let's dive in. Okay, let's start with the absolute foundation of our physical health, those core systems that power us through every single day. We're talking about your heart, your bones, and your digestive system. So over time, our arteries can lose a little bit of their flex, kind of like a garden hose that's been sitting out in the sun too long. This just means our heart has to pump a little harder to get the blood flowing, which can sometimes lead to higher blood pressure. And this is the important part, it's not a done deal. We actually have a ton of control over this.
So what's in this action plan? Well, it's about shooting for around 150 minutes of activity a week. That breaks down to just over 20 minutes a day. When you pair that with a diet full of good stuff, solid sleep, keeping stress in check, and obviously not smoking, you're giving your heart exactly what it needs to stay strong. Now let's talk about the framework that holds us up, our bones and muscles. It's true, as we get older, bone density can dip a bit and muscles might lose some strength, which can affect our balance. But just like with our heart, this isn't a one-way street. We can absolutely be proactive and keep our strength and stability up.
And we can get super specific about it too. The Mayo Clinic has a really clear number for women over 50 and men over 70. Aim for 1,200 milligrams of calcium every single day. That gives us a real, concrete target to shoot for, whether it's through food or maybe with a supplement.
So hitting that calcium target, that's step one. Step two is making sure you get enough vitamin D, which is like calcium's sidekick. It helps your body actually absorb it. Then you want to add in things like walking, jogging, or even tennis. And yeah, just like with heart health, staying away from smoking and too much alcohol is a huge deal for your bones.
The last piece of our engine room puzzle is digestion. And yeah, sometimes changes in the large intestine can make things a little backed up, but the fixes are often super simple and totally within our control. Think more fruits and veggies, drinking plenty of water, and just keeping your body moving.
All right, we've covered the body's engine. Now, let's head up to the command center. After all, that healthy heart is pumping oxygen-rich blood right up to our brain. So in this section, we're going to look at the brain, our memory, and how our senses, our eyes and ears, keep us connected to everything around us.
It's totally natural to worry a little about memory as we get older. And it's true, the brain does change. Maybe you find yourself doing the "where did I put my keys" dance more often. But for most of us, these are just minor shifts. And there are some really powerful, proven things we can do to keep our minds sharp.
Starting to see a pattern here? That same physical activity that's great for your heart is one of the best things you can do for your brain, because it boosts that critical blood flow. Then add in some mental workouts, puzzles, hobbies, learning something new. And this one is huge. Stay connected with people. Those chats with friends and family, they're incredible for your brain.
What about our sight and hearing? You might notice it's a little tougher to read that tiny print, or maybe you miss some of the higher notes in a song. But what's really interesting is that the core advice for both is pretty much the same. Be proactive. Get regular checkups and use simple protection. Sunglasses for your eyes, earplugs around loud noise. It can make a world of difference.
Okay, so we've gone from the big systems of the body, and now we're zooming in on the daily habits that really shape our health. You'd be surprised how much these little, consistent things can affect our skin, teeth, and even our weight over time. Our skin and teeth change too. Skin can get a little thinner and drier, and our gums might pull back a bit. The big takeaway here is that gentle, consistent care is everything. And this isn't just about looking good, it's a really important part of our overall health. So what does that look like day to day? Well, for your skin, just think gentle, and sunscreen is absolutely non-negotiable. For your teeth, it's that classic advice for a reason. Brush, floss, and see your dentist. It's not about some complicated routine, it's the simple stuff, done consistently, that really makes the difference.
You know, a lot of people wonder why it seems to get harder to keep weight steady over the years. Well, a big piece of that puzzle is our metabolism, our body's calorie-burning engine, which naturally starts to slow down a bit. This just means we need to adjust, right? By staying active, eating well, and maybe just keeping an eye on portion sizes.
All right, in our final section, we're going to touch on two topics that are just so crucial for our quality of life and sense of well-being: bladder health and sexuality.
So, as we age, the bladder can become a little less elastic, which might lead to some control issues. But there's a really effective technique called bladder retraining. It's a pretty simple, 3-step plan. First, you get on a regular schedule. Then, you slowly try to stretch the time between trips. And finally, you add in Kegel exercises to strengthen those pelvic floor muscles. It's a skill you can totally learn and get better at over time.
And finally, sexuality. Look, our needs, our performance, it can all change over time. And that is completely 100% normal. The best tools you have for staying intimate are talking openly with your partner and just being willing to adapt. And remember, talking to a doctor can open up all sorts of options you might not even know exist.
So, after going through all of this, from our heart all the way to our daily habits, we land on a pretty simple truth. We can't actually stop the clock. We can't stop the aging process itself.
And that leads us to the most powerful idea of all from the Mayo Clinic. While we can't stop aging, we have an incredible amount of say in how we age. It all comes down to the choices we make. The choices that keep us moving, that let us do the things we love, and that help us connect with the people who matter most.
In the end, it's all those small, consistent choices we make every day that really add up. Deciding to go for a walk, adding a few more veggies to your dinner, calling a friend just to say hi. All of these moments are what shape our journey. Which brings us to the last and maybe the most important question of all. How will you choose to age?